Welcome to my channel Electronic Science Tutorial. Recently I started a new lecture series on data interpretation and we will trying to solve the previous year NET and SET question paper. In last class we solved June 2011 UGC NET data interpretation part. Today I will solve the December 2011 UGC NET data interpretation question. So without any time waste, let's start our class. December 2011 data interpretation question based on the pie chart. So what is the question? The question is the total CO2 emissions from various sectors are 5 MMT. In the pie chart given below, the percentage contribution to CO2 emissions from various sectors is indicated. So this is the pie chart. From transport sector, 30% CO2 emission will be occurred. From thermal power sector, 35% CO2 will be emitted. From domestic sector, 15% CO2 will be emitted. And from commercial sector, 20% CO2 will be emitted. So this question is based on the pie chart, and in previous question paper or in previous lecture we already know how we solve the pie chart question. So what is the question? The question is, what is the absolute CO2 emission from domestic sector? What is the absolute CO2 emission from domestic sector? So domestic sector will be emitted 15% CO2, right? And the total CO2 emission from the various sector are 5 MMT, right? This is given into the question. So what are the options? Option A is 1.5 MMT, option B 2.5 MMT, option C 1.75 MMT, option D is 0.75 MMT. So the domestic sector emitted 15% CO2 and the total CO2 emission from various sector are 5 MMT. So how we calculate what is the absolute CO2 emission from domestic sector? So the calculation has to be based on this domestic sector, 15% domestic sector. So 5 into 15%, that means 5 into 15 divided by 100. How much? Then this value is the absolute CO2 emission from domestic sector, right? So how we solve? See you in the next slide. So here is the solution. From domestic sector, CO2 emission is 5 into 15%. 15% means 15 divided by 100. So 5 into 15 divided by 100 equal to 3 by 4, that is equal to 0.75 MMT. So the right option is option D. Okay. So coming to the next question. Next question is the total CO2 emissions from various sectors are 5 MMT. In the pie chart given below, the percentage contribution to CO2 emissions from various sectors is indicated. From transport sector, the value is 30%. From thermal power sector, the value is 35%. From domestic sector, the value is 15%. And from the commercial sector, the value is 20%. Now the question is, what is the absolute CO2 emission for combined thermal power and transport sector? And the options are option A 3.25 MMT, option B 1.5 MMT, option C 2.5 MMT, option D 4 MMT. So how we calculate? What is the absolute CO2 emission for combined thermal power and transport sector? From thermal power sector, CO2 emission emitted 35% CO2 will be emitted, and from transport sector 30% CO2 will be emitted. So, and we know the total CO2 emissions from various sectors are 5 MMT. So, from transport sector 5 into 30% plus from thermal power sector 5 into 35%. Why we add these two sectors? Because the question is what is the absolute CO2 emission for combined thermal power and transport sector. So we have to calculate the combination of thermal power CO2 emission and the transport sector CO2 emission. So 5 into 30% plus 5 into 35%. If we calculate this number, then we have get the answer. Okay. So how we solve? See you in the next slide. Solve this question. From thermal power sector, the value is 30%, 35% CO2 will be emitted. So 5 into 35%, that is equal to 5 into 35 divided by 100, that is equal to 7 by 4, that means 1.75 MMT. And from transport sector, CO2 will be emitted 30%. So 5 into 30%, that means 3 by 2, that is equal to 1.5 MMT. So the total CO2 emission will be 1.75 plus 1.5 MMT, that is equal to 3.25 MMT. So the right option is option A. Okay. So in this way we can easily solve the pie chart question. Okay. Hope you understand this topic. Thank you. If you like, do like, share and subscribe my channel.